Hey everybody, Invisiblekatana here with my review for Fully Coolly Progressive. Recently ended over the weekend. I got to watch it just a little bit ago, the final episode, which really did surprise me. I didn't realize they were going to stick with the 6 episode thing, which I thought was really cool. Because that was one of the things I was curious about. Like, was it going to be like a truly expanded version of the story? Since it's been so many years, and they were instantly like, yeah, we're coming out with 2 and 3. So I was like, well, how long are the season's going to be? Is it going to be a big deal? And it was pretty much exactly like Fully Cooley. It was pretty much, honestly, it was like the exact same story. Just newer characters and some even crazier stuff, because it's like, all right, well, clearly it's years and years later. Which they kind of point out more so at the end than anything else, because they reference that the guy that had like the red hair is the dude, is the son of the guy with the crazy eyebrows, which is funny because the whole series I was like, that reminds me of that dude with the eyebrows, because his eyebrows were mostly because they were red and thick, and I was like, oh, he reminds me of the dude, those eyebrows. So it's kind of funny that at the end it ended up being the same guy, and he had thin eyebrows just like his dad, and they were fake throughout the whole series. So I thought that was really funny, but I liked the show. It was just really crazy. It was just really weird. I love the fact that pretty much every episode had a different art style to it. Like the one before the finale was like almost like charcoal oil painting and stuff, and I was like, well, that I thought was super cool, and it was kind of throughout the entire episode, and you could see that, and it was funny how they did it, because you could tell that it was a different art style, but everything also looked very similar. It's like, oh, that's this art style, but slightly shifted to be oil painting style or something. So it was kind of fun watching it and being like, oh, it's a different art style for this episode, and it kind of correlated to Hidomi's dreams throughout the episode, which were super dark. Like, there were just some moments. It was mostly just her dreams, really, that were like oddly dark for it being, like Fully Cooley, which is fairly mature when you think about it, where it's basically this love struck alien woman who kind of doesn't care if people live or die. It's actually really dark when you do like the basic premise of it, but the way it plays out is like super funny. So Hidomi's dreams throughout the episodes, it was always people dying and her being torn apart and the zombies and just depression. Everything was just like sad and people dying all the time. But it was interesting going through it with Hidomi and Ide. So they were like the two kids instead of it just being one from the last series, not counting that very particular episode. Um, but it's both of them going through their experiences. We also get it from one of Ide's buddies. I think that was in episode 4, and then some things sort of pick up, but it all happened so fast because I thought we were gonna get some answers. I was like, well, who is this? Who is that? And I guess technically, we find out that the organization, because of the reveal that it's the guy with eyebrows' son, it's the same organization. They're just doing things differently now. But it was weird. It was all weird the whole way through, because I was like, all right, well, what's going on with this girl's dad, which I guess she was technically like a robot, and then she's possibly reborn as human at the end. I just assumed she was fully human at the end. I don't know, but lots of weird stuff going on there. It's like, so she was a robot, but maybe she's human now, maybe not. I don't. It doesn't even matter. I'm curious if they're gonna show up in the third series, which I kind of doubt. Just I'm super curious if that's gonna be like years and years in the future too, like even from this version, but excuse me, I definitely like the show. Of course, it was super funny. Like the action. The only character I can't remember right now is the other woman who had like the visor glasses that fortunately came back at the end of the series, which I thought was pretty cool. But I liked her character, and I think it was maybe it was episode. I mean, I think that may have been episode 4 as well, where she fought and she got killed, like she was basically eaten. And I was like, whoa, that was one of those dark moments where it was like, this is the stuff that they kind of hid a lot in the first series, where it was like super kiddie and childish outside of some of her dialogue. That was just one of those moments where I was like, yeah, Raharu, it's just, that was just like a straight up villain move, because she was just mad and she wanted to have the power. And it was like, this is really interesting. It's just super weird. And of course, get to the end of the series and it all comes down to the same thing. Like, she is just in love with this giant red bird dude, and he just takes off. He does not love her. Like, he's like, I'm out of here. Apparently she can only seem to catch up to him whenever he ends up back on Earth, which is funny. But for whatever reason, she just keeps chasing him. Like, she chases him because she wants what she can't have, and that's pretty much all there is to it. She keeps chasing him, and she thought she had it at the end, which I thought was really cool. Because I felt like that was like the smallest little touch, but I thought it added a lot to that story, where she was legitimately upset, and she mentions like I think it was like overflowing. And she's like, "Can't you see I'm overflowing?" And she like legitimately cries. And I was like, well, that actually added, even though it was like the smallest thing at the very end of the series, that actually added a huge dimension to it, because before it kind of seemed like she was just chasing him down, and that was like, I don't know, like from the first series, honestly, no matter how many times I saw it, I just always saw it as like she was chasing him down because she was in love with him, and he kind of got trapped on Earth, and that was how she had to find him. Like that's how I always saw it. But in this, it was like, okay, he legitimately takes off because he's like, "You crazy, and I don't want you," or whatever it is, because he's just a bird dude who flies into space. I don't know. So still not too much there. It's fully coolly again, but definitely enjoyed the season. I was, like I said, surprised that it was only 6 episodes again, because I didn't really look into it, but certainly enjoyed every one. They had their references, of course. The very first episode when Hidomi gets hit by the cars, just like the original series. Of course, the music and everything. The action was really cool. There wasn't an episode that really stuck out to me as like a super epic episode. I would say maybe actually episode 4, when they did have like the crazy battle. I would compare that to my favorite episode of the original series, which is Brittle Bullet, which is episode 5, where they're in the beginning they're using like BB guns and everything, and then by the end it's like this crazy shootout, and that's when they have like the crazy barbershop shootout, and she's just like blowing people away with the guitar against a shotgun. I just love that episode. I don't know why. It's just like an over the top action episode. I always thought it looked super sweet, and that one scene where she's in the middle of the street versus the dude with the eyebrows, and she looks so evil, and there's like there's just explosions in the background and people getting hurt. And for some reason, it always stuck out to me as like the coolest episode, because I love a cool action show, and it's like the perfect blend where they kicked it up basically, to 11 in episode 5. And I feel like they kind of did that for this show with episode 4, with them kind of going against each other. And then it's like, oh, she just killed one of the one of the main characters off, who, like I said, fortunately comes back at the end. Conti was in this, which I thought was a nice little thing. No real connections to the original series outside of the ending, where they basically, I believe, unless I'm mistaken, the ending was showing basically what happened after the original series. So they show like all these shooting stars and stuff, and them up in space, and that's how they end up splitting into two different people because of the power of Adamus. So it was very interesting watching that, because I was waiting for that to kind of come into play, because I was like, oh, they're showing, like, because I can't remember any of the characters' names, but like the older girl, the main character's brother's girlfriend and stuff, like it was like her on the scooter looking at the stars. I think they showed other characters too, but I felt like all the scenes were like super dark because it all took place at night, and I was like, I can't tell if I'm looking at a person or if this is random debris in space and stuff. But I kept thinking that was going to kind of roll into this, which I would have loved to have seen, just to have that connection, because I love the fact that the show is so crazy and wild. But I like the idea that Fully Cooley could connect, just to have that little bit. But maybe they thought it would tarnish it, because that was always kind of the point of Fully Cooley, is that there's like, here it is, and then there's nothing else to it. And technically this is almost the exact same thing, where it's like, okay, it's a part 2 to Fully Cooley, but it's still just insane, and there's really no ties outside of the fact that you have a main character who's technically the main villain as well, because she's in this super weird ground where she's going for one thing, and it's love the alien bird guy, and then outside of that is like, the whole point is her just using these kids to kind of draw them out, and it's like, I don't care who lives, I don't care who dies, I'll eat you because I need more power to get Adamus. So she's like the main character, especially in this, because she's the Ty from the first series, but she's the villain of the show, and it's just really funny watching her. It's like, this crazy character who's like one of the few main characters is also like the villain, and technically I guess she was from the first series too, but I felt like it stood out a lot more in this one. But really enjoyed it. Looking forward to Fully Cooley Alternative, and I'm curious, like I said, with the way they show it, they basically show at least one of the main characters, so I would assume that we're gonna have another female lead as like the main character, and we'll see kind of how that plays out, and if it's way off in the future again. And I would assume it would have to be, because the whole point of the series is that Rauru is just chasing this dude around space, and then she only seems to catch up to him when it comes to Earth. So maybe another couple of decades, and we'll see Ide's buddy, who was wearing the skirt and stuff, who was super funny. Maybe him and the crazy robot girl will have a kid or something. Maybe that's how it's gonna go. But I'm looking forward to it. I think it said it was September 8th or something like that. It's September, so I'm looking forward to that. But I definitely thought this was a good season. I love the animation, and I think they did a good job with it. It was one of those things where it's like, oh, it's fully coolly, classic anime, 6 short little episodes, and then it's like, oh, they're coming out with a 2 and a 3, and everybody, of course, was worried. But I think they did a really good job with it. It was just as crazy, pretty much nothing connected, and then it was just like, oh, here's this random tie here, a random tie there, and a random little reference here. And that was pretty much it, and it was its own thing, completely, decades later. So it's just stuff where it's like it's got the same name, but it's its own entity, really. And I kind of like it for that, even though I would have liked to have had more ties to the original series. I kind of like it for that. It has its own thing, and it does make me wonder if Hidomi is the daughter of the main character, because I think it's in the manga, not in the series, but in the manga, he does actually take off to try to find her, and so maybe that was like the big thing where he's gone because, I don't know, maybe he went to space. I don't freaking know. Maybe that's how it played out. I don't know, but maybe there's some reference in there that I missed that kind of answered that question or something. I mean, they did have a cafe, although I don't think it was the same. I think it was called Hibari, which, like I said, I can't remember anyone's names, but it was Hibaji, I think was the name of the main character. So I don't know, but definitely like the series. Of course, would love to know what you guys thought about this one. It's almost unfair to even compare it to the original series, because that was just kind of like a groundbreaking series with just how weird and crazy it was in general, like just animation wise, story wise, where it was so confusing but also just super entertaining. And I feel like this does do the same thing, but not as good, solely based on the fact that I think the first series was funnier, and that's why I think I enjoyed it a bit more. Because Raru, she was more of a part of the series because she was around the main characters way more often compared to her just being like the teacher, which I thought was super funny that they show her age. I think it was in the second episode where it says that she's still 16, but she was about the teacher and stuff, so that just made me laugh. But I still enjoyed it, but I would probably still pick the original series over this one. But definitely, I don't think it disappointed in any way, shape, or form. But of course, we'll love to know what you guys thought about it. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. And if you guys have any predictions or anything like that for, I was gonna say season 3. Well, Fully Cooley 3, I guess. I would love to know your predictions on that. Which characters are gonna make a return? Who's not gonna make a return? Is it gonna be the exact same thing? Because this really was like, when you kind of put it to basics, it was the exact same series. It just had a boy and a girl this time, and the girl was the main character. So it really was like the exact same series. It was just kind of a bit looser as far as like what was going on. It didn't seem as tight knit. Like, oh, this organization is coming after them because of this and stuff like that. The organization was like really in the background, and we didn't even know if it was the same organization or if it was different people or how it was playing out. But we'll love to know your predictions on what they're going to do for the third series. And like I said, definitely want to know what you guys thought about this one in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.